Like all pro tennis players, Bernard Tomic uses different shots on court to beat opponents. Unfortunately for him, at the Australian Open a few weeks ago, he lost in the first round. But undaunted, Tomic then used his post-match media conference to lob verbal missiles aimed at smashing Lleyton Hewitt. It was an extraordinary outburst against one of our best ever players and current Davis Cup captain. But as everyone knows, Lleyton Hewitt's no quitter. He deftly returned Tomic's serve with added spin. Deuce, you might say. Except this battle has left Tennis Australia with an almighty headache. You're seen as entitled, as lazy, selfish, a brat. Bernard Tomic is used to being on the receiving end of some powerful serves.
I don't know why Bernie's Bernie. You know, it's probably his upbringing, I'd say.
But he can return fire just as well.
He's playing Davis. I thought he's retired.
Right now, he and his dad John are on the attack, at war with Lleyton Hewitt and Australian tennis.
We have a beautiful country, strong law. Who is Lleyton Hewitt? Who is?
People don't like you.
Love hate.
How can you
Love
now make this comment? This is not fair.
Game, set, match.
What a week you've had.
Yeah, it was good.
It was good?
I'm sorry, you're intimidating me now.
It was the end of a torrid week for Bernard Tomic and his fiery and infamously camera-shy father John when they invited me into their home on the Gold Coast. Father and son have never sat down for an interview together, but they're angry enough to do it this once.
We all know my image the last decade. Look, I can't take it back. I am who I am. I've done what I've done. I've had problems off court. I've been arrested.
Bernard Tomic had a wild party in the penthouse of the W.
But that's that. But this is totally different.
Even more surprising, it's quickly clear Bernard's extraordinary public attack on Australia's Davis Cup captain Lleyton Hewitt
No one likes him anymore.
is the boiling over point of a long-running feud, a bitter spat that began in a hotel room a decade ago.
He sat me down and said, "You're not playing Davis Cup, mate, tomorrow," which was the time, which was when I was played at the younger stage. So unless you tell me these things.
Lleyton bullied him and threatened to him, victimized him.
March 2010. Australia is playing Taiwan at a Davis Cup tournament in Melbourne. On the team, 16-year-old junior sensation Bernard Tomic. And Aussie legend Lleyton Hewitt. No favourite of the Tennis Australia hierarchy at the time because of his bad boy antics. The Tomics say Hewitt came into Bernard's hotel room demanding the teenager tell him who, at Tennis Australia, was against him. They also claim Hewitt threatened Bernard with never playing Davis Cup again if he didn't speak up. John Tomic says he complained about the alleged bullying at the time, but was ignored.
If I bullied somebody 16 years old and threatened to him, you can't do, locked in the room, what's happened? I will be in the jail now. We have a beautiful country, strong law. Who is Lleyton Hewitt? Who is?
I'm not justifying what happened, far from it, but you're talking about an incident between two players nearly a decade ago.
I mean, you put a 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid in the room and go, "Tell me this or you're not playing," you know? You
will never come close to me, you will never succeed in Australian sport. This is a big threat.
But what you're saying is you've sat on evidence of this for
Yes.
9 years?
Yes.
And it's only now going to come to light?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I guess here's my issue with it, is that I'm having to sit here and just take your word for it. You won't tell me what the proof is, what evidence you have,
No,
but I have
bullied,
to believe you.
I was intimidated, I was harassed, that's all I'll say. I was 16 years old at a Davis Cup tie in Melbourne, Grand Hyatt, stand by that. Further matters will be taking place.
The Tomics say this feud simmered for the best part of a decade. But then, in the full international glare of this year's Australian Open, the bad blood erupted at dueling media conferences, kicked off by Bernard after his first round loss.
It's all Lleyton. I mean, I'm going to say honest though, no one likes him anymore. He's just doing, he's doing the wrong thing.
It's one clown making a silly comment and that's the main news. For me, it was probably the abuse that I copped from him that, in the end I drew a line in the sand and, haven't spoken to him since.
So we don't want to play anymore because he's ruined the system. I mean, go away. Like, literally, if he's retired, like, why are you still in tennis,
I think the threats that I've received for me and my family, that I've had for a year and a half now, I don't think anyone would reach out to a person that speaks like that, so.
They were very serious allegations that Hewitt levelled back at you, that you physically threatened him and his family.
Yeah, I did message him, threatening. I said exact words I said was, if you come 1 metre from me, I will knock you out, and he knows that. If you ever try to talk to me, come 1 metre from me, I stand by that. But did I do that? Did I mention his family? That's pretty low. How low do you have to be to mention family and kids and stuff like that? I think that's one of the lowest things I've ever heard from him say. Because I stand by my threats towards him. But not to his family, which has nothing to do with nothing. So I think that's really, really, really
You would never
low
threaten
rate.
his family?
Absolutely not. Never threaten kids or family. I've got nothing to do with that. That's so wrong. But for him to say that, that's really low. To go that low and make me look that bad, that's really low. Now the fact that he said that, if he comes 2 metres from me.
What enraged many was that Tomic's public attack on Hewitt came just as other Aussie players were going gangbusters at the Australian Open. So was it a premeditated decision? Had you decided that you were always going to use this press conference? Yeah. It wasn't a spur of the moment thing as you walked into the room?
No. Look, some of the people commented on myself saying I lost and that was my defence, and which is completely inaccurate. And I just felt at that moment and that time was the right time to come out with all those stuff.
What it did do was overshadow some amazing success stories from other Australian players.
I agree, but a lot of players are unhappy, not just myself.
Do you regret using that platform at that time, making that announcement?
No, because I felt that's at most heat when it needed to be done.
Maximum exposure.
That's right, correct.
Which is why I put to you, the perception right now is that you're a loose cannon with an overbearing father and this is all sour grapes. Is that true?
Just a second before Bernard answer. Okay, you turning topic this one, about grapes and this, and we have to turn topic about Lleyton, why he is patriot, but when he's not patriot.
I get your point. Look, we can't all be Roger Federer. We can't all be Michael Jordan. I can't all be Rafa Nadal. In my sport, in my career, I've achieved a lot. Many, many years at the top of my sport. We can't all be Roger Federer. Am I right or wrong? Can we?
Everyone knows tennis tolerates tantrums.
Get him out of here.
Players do what they can to win. But in Australia, there's now a changing view. Perhaps it's time to move on from firebrands like Bernard Tomic and Nick Kyrgios.
What did I say? You know what you said. No, I don't.
The problem you have is that people don't like you. People don't like you because they feel they're disrespected.
That is your personal Allison opinion. That is half.
I'm not saying I dislike him.
But you say they don't like you. This is not on the spot.
You think most Australians do like Bernard?
You want to come to the restaurant with me?
Some part don't like, that's some part. But
love hate.
How can you now make this comment? This is not fair.
I think it's very fair. I think it's fair. You look at social media, you look at the response after what you said at that press conference and some of the words that are used. You're seen as entitled, as lazy, selfish, a brat. John McEnroe, the bad boy of tennis, called you out as a spoilt brat. These aren't my words.
He said that about Nick as well, and also said that we have one of the greatest talents in the world of sport as well, many times.
No one denies that, but I think people look at you and think that you've squandered that.
No. I've had an unbelievable career so far. With the game now. Like I said, we can't all be Roger Federer and Michael Jordan.
You could have been better, though.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Coming up, is Dad too tough? The man who rearranged the face of Bernard's practice partner.
Yes, go.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I defend that totally.
More free advice for Lleyton.
He should be Davis Cup captain and doing the right thing for the players, not himself.
But can Tennis Australia fix this crisis? It's a bad look for tennis, isn't it? That's next on 60 Minutes. John Tomic has always been the shadowy power behind his son Bernard's career. Sometimes fitting too easily the image of the classic domineering tennis dad.
He's annoying me. I want him to leave.
In 2013, he received an 8-month suspended jail sentence for assaulting Bernard's training partner in Spain. Some of the stuff that's been written and said about you, John, just in the past couple of weeks, that you had a reputation as an overbearing and volatile tennis dad on the tour. When I think of John Tomic, I think of the man who rearranged the face of Bernard's practice partner.
Yes, go. There's a lot of allegations was against me and the issues, and I said, but we are now in the good space. And
Yeah, that I defend totally. I know exactly what you're talking about. I defend that totally.
You defend...
Yeah. If a guy spat in my face, I'll knock him out straight away. You ask any person in Australia, anywhere around the world, if someone spits in your face, what are you going to do? That's all I ask.
But there was no evidence that he spat in your face. He was never charged.
This is
he
past.
was not convicted.
This is past. Everyone making mistakes, you know.
Yeah.
But
He
behind the good
did the wrong
space.
thing. He did the wrong and right thing.
Each is the other's fiercest defender. And right now, their common enemy is Lleyton Hewitt, who they claim plays favourites using his power at Tennis Australia and is captain of our Davis Cup team.
Everyone's leaving, you know, even guys, we don't want to play anymore. It's like this, so I hope he can get moved and we can go back to having a good captain.
We're trying to set cultural standards for the Davis Cup and representing Australia. He hasn't, really been close to those in the last couple of years.
He used to hate Tennis Australia, it's weird, and now he loves them. So, what's happened here?
He won't play Davis Cup while I have anything to do with it.
How can Lleyton Hewitt said Bernard will never play Davis Cup? How? Is that the Davis Cup his private? Or his Australia is his?
Exactly.
We have to know.
The Tomics are blunt and uncompromising, and it's no wonder they're magnets for negative attention. But they do have supporters. Do you think Bernard and his father are soft targets?
I do think they're soft targets. They come out, they get misquoted, they say things that they probably wish they hadn't have said, like most people. But
Mike Ford is head of Tennis Gold Coast and has known Tomic and his dad since Bernie was a junior. Mike watched the immigrant kid scale the heights of international competition with his dad behind him.
Not everyone comes through one sanitised way.
He thinks the Tomics have every right to question Lleyton Hewitt and Tennis Australia. So what do you think needs to happen?
Modern and healthy organisations are not afraid to ask the tough questions of those in charge. That's what I expect to happen. So they will sit down and they will say, we need to discuss these issues, and they will do that.
While Mike Ford argues for diplomacy and dialogue, such is the Tomics' current anger at Lleyton Hewitt and the influence he wields, any hope of rapprochement, and indeed any hope of Bernard Tomic ever playing Davis Cup for Australia again, is remote.
He's got too much power and it's not fair. It's not fair for Davis Cup. It's not fair for players that are, not getting the chance to play Davis Cup because he's controlling the system down.
But he says what he's trying to do is change the culture. He says
like,
he just wants players who give 110% on the court and try hard. I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Bernard gave on the tennis court when he was 16, 300%.
Are you a team player?
Absolutely. I stand by Davis Cup. I think Davis Cup's unbelievable. It's one of the best things in the world. I have an unbelievable record. I've won 20 matches, lost 3, and I'll always play with Mo. While he's there, I won't, because it's just, it's unfair.
And he won't have you.
Well, we'll keep it that way.
Do you think you've disrespected the game over the years?
No, I
By
think...
saying you hate it?
Yeah, I mean, tennis was my life growing up, you know. It was different, and it's just a job now that I've done. It's just getting over and done with. Do I have to try mega hard? No.
And that's what I'm saying, is I think that's where your problem comes from.
Exactly.
You don't think you have a bad attitude?
I think I personally do. I have a bad attitude. Of course, we all do. Me, for sure. I'm honest about that.
Since the tit-for-tat barbs at the Australian Open, Lleyton Hewitt has shut down all questions about his showdown with Bernard Tomic.
I'm not going into it anymore.
So we went to Tennis Australia's performance director, Wooley, himself a highly respected former player. You have two high-profile players in a very public stoush. It's a bad look for tennis, isn't it?
I guess it's disappointing that it played out in public, but I think with respect to Lleyton and Bernie, the only way that we're going to get through this is by communication, and obviously they're a fair distance apart.
So what do you want to see happen? Do you want to see them sit down in a room and talk this out?
That would be nice, but there's just a reality to it. You talked about individuals, tennis players have strong egos and they're strong personalities, and we do see this from time to time, but this is played out publicly.
What is Tennis Australia's response to the specific hotel bullying allegation the Tomics levelled against Hewitt?
2010, you're talking about something that I was not involved with and only found out about a couple of weeks ago. So in terms of an investigation, I guess it's a case of he said, she said.
But I mean, surely Tennis Australia is duty-bound to investigate.
Well, reviews happen annually. There's no question about that in a Davis Cup scenario. So there will be a review, no question about that.
So this will be looked at?
Well, the whole conversation that occurred over the summer will be looked at, yes.
He was a 16-year-old boy at the time. It is quite a serious accusation.
Well, it is an accusation, and I guess we'll have to see how far that accusation goes.
And what of Lleyton Hewitt's vow that Bernard Tomic would never play Davis Cup while he was captain?
He won't play Davis Cup while I have anything to do with it.
He made it personal. Did he overstep the mark?
He feels that he put a lot of effort into Bernie over a couple of years, and I certainly think he feels personally betrayed. I think that he's taken it personally. But at the end of the day, Lleyton is an employee of Tennis Australia. He reports to me, I report to Craig Tiley, so there's a chain of command. So he doesn't have that sole discretion.
So will Bernard be considered for Davis Cup in the future?
Quite possibly, but let's face it, he's got a lot of work to do to get back to his best tennis. And the great thing about tennis is that nothing can stop him achieving his best. He's just got to work for it.
Has anyone reached out to the Tomics?
I've spoken to John, yes.
And what do you see happening from this point?
Well, as I say, I don't think it's going to be small steps, and I don't think it's going to be easy because there's been a reasonable amount of vitriol and it's played out in the public, and I'm talking to you, which is probably going to confuse the issue even more by the time this goes to air on Sunday night, but we move forward.
You think that's possible?
Yeah, always. I'm 55 years old. I've been through a few of these in my time.
Despite Wally Mercer's efforts to broker peace between Tomic and Hewitt, yesterday this story took another peculiar twist. The boss of Tennis Australia, Craig Tiley, issued a statement completely at odds with his performance director Mercer's calm approach. Tiley slammed the Tomic's behaviour, accused them of being disrespectful and of causing deliberate damage. Bernard Tomic, meanwhile, says he's committed to regaining his standing in the game. Do you see yourself as a whistleblower?
What does that mean?
Like you're the one exposing the inner dark secrets of Tennis Australia?
I'm only speaking the honest truth of what I know and what I think, and what a lot of people know as well, but are too afraid to come out.
Hello, I'm Allison Langdon. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.